everyone, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. Today I'm really excited to be sharing with you the best books I read in 2018. So these are hands down my favorite. I have a top 10 for you, but I also have 4 honorable mentions. If you're new to my channel, I definitely recommend subscribing. I post new bookish videos every week, and as I am posting these beginning of the year, end of the year kind of wrap up videos, I will be posting more than just the once a week. So you definitely want to subscribe so you don't miss any of the fun bookish content coming to this channel. Starting off with the honorable mentions, we have Piecing Me Together by Renee Watson, A Reaper at the Gates by Saba Tahir, Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles, and Always and Forever Laura Jean by Jenny Han. But coming in at number 10, we have The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. I love this book so much. I actually just read it in December, so it's fresh, but the love is so real. This is a Christmas Carol retelling. I say pseudo because A Christmas Carol is a book that exists in this world. This book follows our main character Holly Chase, and she is visited by the ghost of Christmas, past, present, and future, as that year Scrooge decides not to change her ways and actually dies a few days later. And in death, she actually takes up the post of Ghost of Christmas Past. So she has to fill that role and working to try to help the future Scrooges change their ways. I really didn't expect to enjoy this book as much as I did, but I really enjoyed it. Its ending is kind of cheesy and the kind of thing I normally wouldn't like, but because it's a holiday book, I think I was able to forgive it because it's definitely like that Christmassy end of year, like happy making ending, and I was really pleased with that. Coming in at number 9, we have The Woman in the Window by A.J. Fenn. This is a Rear Window-esque story. It's like a Rear Window inspired book, and I love it so much. This is an adult psychological thriller that follows a main character who is an unreliable narrator and has agoraphobia. She looks outside her window and sees something wild going down at her neighbor's house, but because of her agoraphobia, she cannot leave the house. While we find her to be an unreliable narrator, so do the people in her life. So nobody really believes what she's saying and what she saw, and the entire book is trying to figure out if what she saw really happened. And it's so good. I loved it so much. It's so much fun. I definitely saw one of the twists coming, didn't see another. I love that. There's multiple twists and turns in this. It was one of the best-selling books of the year for a reason. I definitely recommend picking it up. Coming in at number 8, we have The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. This is such a fantastic feminist, lovely tale. I love it so much. This follows the story of a group of young girls who band together after a classmate of theirs was raped, and basically no one believed her and she ended up leaving. After the events of that happen, a new girl moves into town, kind of is starting to figure out that this is a not cool thing that happened, and together a bunch of girls create this like feminist fantastic group to like stand up to the awfulness that's happening in their town, and it's beautiful and smart and lovely, and I love it so much. This to me is like The Female of the Species meets Moxie. It's about a bunch of girls who band together, create this group where they feel safe together and feel open to talk about these issues and kind of stand up and fight back in the ways they can. But it also very like bluntly talks about a lot of issues, and I loved it so much. Definitely recommend it if you haven't read it. Coming in at number 7, we have Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. I loved this book. This is a story of a girl named Frances who is like a straight A, top of the like class head girl student at her school, but she has this like side interest in drawing and artistic endeavors that she doesn't really explore because school is such a big part of her life. And it's their story of friendship, of internet fame, and the slippery slope that leads to a story about school exploration, growing up. It's beautiful. I love it so much. I think it beautifully depicts what it's like to grow up in the internet culture, and it talks about school and transitioning times and so many interesting things. I really liked how it depicted like the college application process. Coming in at number 6, we have A Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This is the story of a young black man whose brother was shot and killed. He decides to take revenge into his own hands, takes a gun, and goes on an elevator ride to kill the person he thinks is responsible for murdering his brother. However, there's like a speculative fiction aspect to this elevator ride. The elevator ride down takes pretty much the entirety of the book. So each chapter is like, okay, now we're on level 10, 9. Wow. So powerful, so interesting. A very smart and clever narrative about gun violence and the like circle of violence. It was so powerful. It's told in verse, so you will read it very quickly, but it will stick with you. It was just mind-blowingly good. Next up, coming in at number 5, is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is also a book told in verse, and you will again read it very quick, and I loved this so much. This is a story of a young girl who has grown up in the Bronx and just trying to find her way. She starts expressing herself through writing poetry, very vulnerable, very open with her writing, and it's hard to describe everything that went into the story that made it so good. It was so nuanced and smart, covered so many topics. It talked about growing up, love, relationships, trying to live up to parental expectations. I absolutely loved this. I think it was so powerful and strong and riveting and a wonderful narrative, and I can't wait to see what else Elizabeth Acevedo writes, because her writing and her storytelling is that strong. Coming in at number 4 is Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. Probably not a surprise to anyone. This is one of the only books I reviewed on my channel this year. This is a sequel to Beartown, which was my favorite book of last year, so coming in at number 4, it definitely wasn't as good to me as Beartown was. I still really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously one of my favorites of the year. However, I still think Beartown is stronger, and I definitely recommend you read Beartown. Oh, it's so good. This follows the events after the conclusion of Beartown, continuing on in the small town, and it focuses on the same town, the same characters, just going through different things. I think the way some things were depicted in this were so smart. Of course, it's Frederick Bachman. I say that about like pretty much everything he does. This book is also tied to such good memories because when he toured the US for this, I got to meet him. And because I got an arc of this book, his publicist who was there helping at the signing recognized me and kind of like introduced me when I went to meet him, which was just like an insane experience. She's like, oh, this is one of your reviewers. It was just like a mind-blowing experience, and I loved it. Meeting him was so good. So this book is very heavily tied to the like memory of hearing him talk and then meeting him and getting some time to like talk to him, which is just like one of the highlights of 2018. Coming in at number 3 is The Way It Used to Be by Amber Smith. This book really broke me. So at the time I read this book, I was looking for a book that would make me cry, and this I had been told would make me cry, and boy oh boy did it. This is the story of a girl who was raped as a freshman in high school, and it follows her journey throughout high school, all 4 years, as she is dealing with that and how she processes that and how that one event affected her life so much in all of the years. It's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, it's sad, it's tragic, it's lovely, it's smart, it's just heartbreaking, but I loved it so much, and I can't wait to read more from this author. Coming in at number 2 this year is Sadie by Courtney Summers. This was a book a lot of people loved, and I heard the synopsis and I was pretty sure I was going to love this, and I'm glad it did not disappoint. If you liked The Female of the Species, I definitely think you'll like this book, and if you like this book, in turn, I think you would like The Female of the Species. This book is about a young girl who is basically guardian of her younger sister. At the beginning of this book, her younger sister is kidnapped and murdered, and so this follows Sadie as she goes to hunt down the murderer. It's also told in dual timelines, so the second timeline is told about a year in the future, and it is a podcast called The Girls, and it is about Sadie, who in turn went missing. So we don't know what happened to Sadie. My goodness, the podcast element of this is so smart and clever. The book itself is so wonderful, but I think the best part about this book is its exploration and analysis of true crime and how we consume those stories as entertainment. Like, these tragedies that happen to real people are just entertainment for us. And in a way, yeah, that's what this book kind of is. But it uses those tropes and gimmicks to kind of like explain and discuss the culture around consuming media about tragedy and violence that befalls women. And it's so smart, and I love it so, so much. And I definitely recommend it, especially on audiobook, because the podcast element just pops in audio format. And now for my favorite book of 2018. It's Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. Ugh, I love this book so much. This book is Trevor Noah's memoir, and it basically just tells his life growing up in South Africa during the apartheids. He was born of an African woman and a white man, and his very existence was a crime during the apartheids. So it's the story of him growing up during the apartheids. So powerful, so funny, and he talks about being biracial so eloquently and perfectly, and he just, I loved it so much. I was flabbergasted by how much I love this book. This is another book I definitely recommend in audiobook because Trevor Noah narrates the audiobook, and hearing his story in his voice, I think, just brings so much more to it. So those are all of my favorite books I read in 2018. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'd also love if you commented down below and let me know if you've read any of these books, if you loved them, if you didn't, and what your favorite book of the year was. But that's all for today's video, so I will see you in my next one. Bye!